So the minute you bring up a race issue, you are labeled as a racist as a black man in America, according to the dominant white society. So again, this is a typical tactic. Do not be fooled by that. That's propaganda. That is a very classic white supremacist tactic they love to use. It's all about confusion. All right, family, you already know what this is. Chauncey, aka Ukarema, great man at GMOGMedia, right back at you once again with another GMOGMedia spotlight. All right, family, I got one of my Bibles in my hand right here, the United Compensatory Code System concept. I'm gonna drop some important information that I want to talk about with the topic at hand. I want to talk about the I say so mentality coming from the dominant white society. So I'm gonna get right into it, family. All right, now with all the recent events that's been happening with the shooting deaths or the legalized lynchings of black people, whether you're armed or unarmed, you know, a lot of things are being demonized, right? A lot of groups, black groups, progressive black groups, people who are trying to talk about or actually, you know, rally against police brutality, things of that nature. The dominant white society and the dominant white media, they are demonizing, polarizing, and vilifying groups. The groups I'm talking about, such as Black Lives Matter, right? Things of that nature. Even my most recent video where I was vilified and demonized as a racist, simply because I said that black people can't be racist. So I'm gonna break all this down, family, and this is coming from the mentality of the dominant white society saying and making up rules as they go because of the I say so mentality coming from them. All right, so the first thing is, again, you got to watch for patterns, family. All of this stuff about, you know, Black Lives Matter, you know, all of these groups that are protesting, things of that nature, that are talking about and, you know, rallying around against police brutality. The dominant white media, the conservatives, things of that nature, suspected white supremacists, they want to demonize, vilify these groups and label them terrorists, label them thugs, you know, label them racist. And this is coming from a recent interview from Rudy Giuliani, who said Black Lives Matter is inherently racist.
And when you say Black Lives Matter, that's inherently racist. That's anti-American and it's racist. Well, of course Black Lives matter, and they matter greatly. But when you focus in on 1% of less than 1% of the murder that's going on in America, you create a disproportion. The police understand it, and it puts a target on their back. Every cop in America will tell you that if you ask them.
So this is media, white supremacist propaganda, and this is straight classic because, like I said, if you watch for patterns, back in the 50s and the 60s, you had progressive black groups such as the NAACP, the Black Panther Party, Digging Up the Fence. You even had Marcus Garvey's group. The dominant white media back then will vilify and demonize these groups as, you know, divisive groups, terrorist groups, thugs, etc., etc. So this is nothing new under the sun. We're just in a whole wider spectrum with the internet now and social media, where things are a lot more polarizing. All right, so this is a typical tactic coming from the dominant white society. They make up their own rules, they create their definitions, right? If I say something about black people can't be racist, I'm labeled as a racist by the dominant white society, right? When in fact that black people collectively as a group, we are prisoners of war. We're prisoners of war under the system of racism, white supremacy. So we don't have a say as far as the rules that they create. All we can do is make up our own definitions that we can use, right, to identify who we are, to identify meanings of words, etc., etc. So when you hear people like say Black Lives Matter is inherently racist, or when I say black people can't be racist and I'm labeled as a racist, You know, you have people like Jesse Williams, who the dominant white society, they put up a petition to get him fired off his job as I believe he's a actor for Grey's Anatomy. Try to get him fired from that. So the minute you bring up a race issue, you are labeled as a racist as a black man in America, according to the dominant white society. So again, this is a typical tactic. Do not be fooled by that. That's propaganda. That is a very classic white supremacist tactic they love to use. It's all about confusion. Okay, so what I'm going to read to you, family, is a United Independent Compensatory Code System concept word book definition of racism. This is what I go by. I don't care what the dominant white society says about racists, because what they want to do, they want to say, you bring up the fact that black people can't be racist, or you join a group that's fighting against police brutality, you're labeled a racist, or you're inherently racist, right? They want to make up their own damn definition of what a racist is, etc., or what racism is, etc., etc. And so I'm going to read to you the definition I go by brother Neely Fuller. Okay, so this is the definition. Excuse me, family. This is the definition I go by, and I'll have it on the screen as well so you can see. Racism. Use this term to apply to the scientific practice of unjust subjugation, misuse, mistreatment, and or abuse of persons classified as non-white by persons classified as white as a basis of color or non-color, or on the basis of factors associated with color or non-color, and or the system of white supremacy. Note, it is incorrect to use the term white racism. To use this term is to imply that racism exists in a form of other than white supremacy. It is important to study the ways that others use the word racism and ask many questions about the way they use it. Okay, so Neely Fuller also talks about everything is solved through question and answer. So when a white person accuses you of being racist, you ask them why. They'll simply say, and this is by their definition, well, I'm gonna call you a racist because you called me a racial slur, and that racial slur happened to be cracker or honky, right? So that makes me a racist for basically name calling, okay, in comparison to the word nigger that you made up, right? Not only that you made up, but you made up laws to further subjugate, to further disenfranchise, all right, to further mistreat our people collectively as a group for over 400 years, and the fact that you're still benefiting from free labor of slaves, which are our ancestors till this day. But yet you want to say, okay, well, since I'm the prison warden, right, and you're the prisoner, if you're going by that actual analogy of being prisoners of war by black people, right, since they make up the rules, they can say, well, I'm granting you the power of being a racist for simply name calling. This is what they like to do, make up damn definitions and cause confusion. So again, I'm going by this damn definition of racism, and I'm gonna also talk about the compensatory definition of racist from this book. And I'm going to read the definition of racist. Quote, racist. Use this word to apply only to a white person who directly or indirectly participates in the practice of white supremacy in any one or more areas of activity during the existence of white supremacy. Do not use the term racist to apply to any person the speech or action of any person other than a person classified as white who functions as white and who speaks and or acts as mistreat any non-white person based on factors associated with the person being non-white. During the existence of white supremacy, use the word racist to mean the same as white supremacist, and use the term white supremacist to mean the same as racist, as correctly applied to the behavior of a white person in his or her interactions with a non-white person. Always associate the words race, racialism, racist, racism, racist man, and racist woman only with those white persons who directly or indirectly practice white supremacy. During the existence of the white supremacists, and according to compensatory counter-racist logic, it is not possible for a victim of white supremacy non-white person to practice racism and or to function as a racist. He or she can only function as a victim of white supremacy, a victim of racist and or a person attempting to end white supremacy racism. All right, family. So don't be confused. Don't be confused by the propaganda by the dominant white society by labeling black people or black groups as racists, terrorists, thugs, etc., etc. Okay? Stand by your ground. Okay? Apply your own definition to racist or racism. I'm going by the compensatory definition of racist and racism. This is what I go by. I don't care what the damn dominant white society says. If I say that black people can't be racist, and I read to you that black people can be racist, well, damn right, black people can't be racist. And historically, it's proven that black people can't be racist. Okay? And you simply can't say, well, you're a racist because I called you a cracker or a honky. No. Doesn't fly. Doesn't compare at all to what I just said in terms of being called Nigger, which I don't like saying that word, okay? And also encompassing laws, regulations to further disenfranchise, marginalize, and subjugate our people for over 400 years, okay? In the system of racism, which is white supremacy. All right, so it doesn't compare whatsoever. So again, don't be affected by the propaganda by the dominant white society to demonize you, demonize what you're trying to do, and label you as a terrorist or a thug or any other kind of negative connotation that deals with trying to be progressive and changing the system of racism, which is white supremacy in this country. Don't be moved by that. Stay on your square, okay? And do not be lost in their confusion, okay? Stand by your square. So that's what I wanted to talk about, family. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. This is Chauncey, aka Ukarema, Great Man of God Media, signing out. Peace.